Welcome to my channel, Retirement After Heart Transplant. I thank you for stopping by today. My name is Alan. Today I want to talk a little bit about the short and long-term effects of medications, transplant medications, on your physical and mental health. It can affect you physically, mentally, even to the point of cognitive health. And I want to just discuss that. All medications come with some sort of side effects, no matter what condition you're being treated for. I'm focusing on, obviously, the immunosuppressants today because it has to do with heart transplant. There are a number of immunosuppressants that people take. I think the two most common that I'm aware of, and by the way, these are the two that I take, are tacrolimus and misophenolic. I have been on different levels of those drugs over the years for various reasons as my heart transplant team looked to find a good balance, both in terms of where my immune system was and some of the effects that they have on you, otherwise, digestive tract effects, things of that nature. But to begin with, speaking of physical effects, tacrolimus in particular often causes tremors. A little shaking in your hand. Now I'm pretty good today. There's my hand. Some days it's never terrible, but some days I really do have more tremors than others. In fact, to make a long story short, I was on the same dosage of tacrolimus for probably 8 or 9 years, and they felt that it was a little too high, and probably about 6 weeks ago, they lowered my dosage just a little bit. So it got my numbers, my levels back where they wanted them when they did that. And the other thing it did is it reduced the tremors a bit. I guess I had just gotten so accustomed to it, I didn't think about it anymore. They're not entirely gone, but it did get rid of a good bit of that. There are other things other health risks, particularly physical health risks that you can have from long-term use of the immunosuppressants. Infection risks. Because you are immune suppressed, you are more susceptible to all kinds of infections. I haven't had a lot of problem with that, but when I catch a cold, just a common cold or something like that, whereas before transplant, maybe it would last me, 3 to 5, 6 days at the worst, it seems to hang around longer now, maybe a couple of weeks, and just drags on longer. That's my experience. Everybody's experience is a little different. Fortunately, I haven't been extremely ill, in terms of any kind of sickness in the last 13 years that I've had the transplant. Cancer is another risk, particularly long-term. Blood cancers, skin cancers. I've had no issues with those to speak of. The only issue I've had in terms of skin, it's not cancerous, but I have had some spots on my scalp, and I have had to have them frozen off by a dermatologist. People have that done pretty regularly, whether they're on an immunosuppressant or not. I suspect that this had to do with the immunosuppressants had to be the cause of mine. Never had that issue before. So consequently, people who are on immunosuppressants are well advised to keep their head covered, keep their arms covered if you're going to be out in the sun for a super long time. Use sunscreen, whatever you can do to limit exposure to the sun, and particularly in hot sun, really middle of the summer type sun. Lots of things that people try to do that. I'm not always the most compliant with that, but I try to do well, and my wife really reminds me a lot. So skin cancers can be a big deal, and I have transplant friends who had quite a few skin cancers since they had their transplant. Another long-term health effect can be cardiovascular problems. High blood pressure, you can develop that, and also heart disease. So they fixed your heart, gave you a new one, put you on some meds that are going to give you heart disease again. Not necessarily true, but it can happen. In my case, I already had high blood pressure prior to the heart transplant. It was well managed, never gave me a real problem. So I didn't develop that after transplant. Same with diabetes. Diabetes is something that you can develop as a result of being immunosuppressants of different types, particularly corticosteroids, which I don't take now, but in any case, I was already a diabetic and it was well controlled and it's still well controlled. The thing that did happen with me is after transplant, because of the medications that I'm on, I went from oral medication for diabetic control to insulin. And so now I take insulin. Small price to pay to get up and sit here and talk to you guys today. Another issue that can develop over the longer term is bone marrow suppression, causing low blood counts in your blood marrow. Also can cause osteoporosis. So consequently, at least in my case with my heart transplant team, they have advised me from the beginning to take calcium supplements. And I do. I take them every day. I've got a couple of friends who just quit taking them over the years. Okay, that's fine, but I've stayed with that. Thus far, as far as I'm aware of, I've not experienced any issues that don't have anything developing. A little hard to know what's going on inside your body, but once again, that is one of the more common long-term side effects that you can have from immunosuppressants. Immunosuppressants can also cause anxiety and even affect your cognitive ability to some degree, particularly over the long term. There's less out there in the medical literature that I've been able to find about the cognitive effects, but there is material out there that studies out there that tell you that they can affect your cognitive abilities. Obviously, if you're older and you're going to have some of impact on your cognitive ability anyway, these medications are going to perhaps make that a little bit worse. I think I'm okay. My memory is not what it used to be, but I'm just about 71. And I got a lot of friends who are in my age range and they have similar experiences. So I don't know how much to blame on that or how much to blame on the immunosuppressants or whatever else. And I really don't think a lot about it. I don't try. In order to try to combat that, and this applies, by the way, to whether you're a transplant taking these drugs or not, try to stay mentally and physically active. Both things will help you, avoid severe or at least mitigate, severe side effects from long-term use of these medications. And I do try to do both those things. My wife and I, all of our lives, have walked a lot. Walking is great exercise. Any physical activity, all that you can do is going to help. There are people. My chief cardiologist at our hospital is a marathon runner, and he'd love it if every patient he had was a marathon runner. Well, I'm not, and I'm not going to be. Never was, and surely not going to be now. But I do try to stay active to some degree. It's a little harder in the wintertime, which it's wintertime right now. And one of the things that my wife and I do while we're indoors, and particularly, is that we do some guided yoga lessons, seated yoga. Maybe you've seen some of these. If you haven't, look them up on YouTube. Pretty good stuff to keep you in decent shape in terms of your flexibility. Not so much of a cardio workout. The ones that we do, at least, there are yoga workouts that are, that do really get you going with your cardio, but ours do not. So staying active physically. I read a lot. I find new things to try. There are things that I'll be talking about moving forward that I've tried since transplant to challenge myself and try to do something new. Another thing that's very important as you go through this journey after transplant, stay in touch with your transplant team. They can help you with almost any question you have. If you're feeling, ways that you shouldn't feel, if you're experiencing symptoms of some sort that you hadn't been feeling, give them a call. Get in touch with them. It might be something to do with your medications, and they could make some adjustments for you. One of the things that I do with my transplant team is this. I will not take any sort of supplement, homeopathic medication, or anything like that unless I first talk to my transplant team. I'm a little overly cautious, probably because I've encountered other heart transplants who are not that cautious. It's okay. That's how I handle it. Here's a great example. My wife really is into wildcrafting, meaning she likes to make tinctures and natural remedies, homeopathic remedies. This is something that brings joy and happiness to her, and spends a lot of time with it. One of the things she makes is elderberry juice. Perhaps you've heard that elderberry juice can help boost your immune system. There are a lot of things on the market that claim to boost your immune system, and I'm sure some work better than others. But interesting story. When she first started doing this a few years ago, I was considering taking it, but I contacted my team before doing so. Normally, if I contact my transplant team with a non-emergency issue, it could be the next day, it could be a couple of days before I hear from them. I called them, left a message. I had a call back inside of 1 hour. The first thing that they asked me was, have you taken any? Meaning, no, don't take it. So I'm not pushing elderberry juice, but elderberry juice, even my heart transplant team recognizes that it really does boost your immune system. And obviously, in my case, any transplant, it's going to make it harder for them to regulate your immune system, which is the whole thing that they're trying to do to keep you with your heart. So that's just an interesting side story about elderberry juice in particular. That's about all I had for today. I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the short and long-term effects of heart transplant meds. I hope that there was something useful, something interesting today for you. I would appreciate it if you'd like the video and if you would subscribe to my channel. And we'll talk about many more things in the future. Thanks for stopping by. Until next time, goodbye.